This is FBG Jen.
And FBG Kristen.
And I'm FBG Margot, host and producer. You're listening to the podcast that will help you keep a lid on the junk in the trunk and inspire you to live a happy and confident life.
Each episode, we chat with motivational experts and celebs and share our own candid adventures in being healthy.
If you're looking for a podcast that's equal parts hilarious and enlightening, well then welcome to the Fit Bottomed Girls podcast.
Welcome back to the Fit Bottomed Girls podcast. This is FBG Margot, and on the line today we have FBG Jen.
Hello.
And we have FBG Kristen.
Yo.
And our guest today is Audrey Dunham. She is the wife of comedian and ventriloquist Jeff Dunham, who is one of the most popular entertainers in the business. I was looking him up. His numbers are incredible. And his wife is our guest today. She's a lifestyle blogger. She was a fitness competitor for a while. She's a plant-based food nutritionist, and she's got some shows coming up. She's so sweet. And Jen, I don't know how you felt. Like you and I had the conversation with her. I felt like we were three friends having a smoothie after Pilates class or something.
Totally. I also feel like we could have easily talked to her for like another hour.
She's a great talker, and she's very funny and very warm. And one of the things she talks about in this interview, and I really appreciate, is that social media being a positive influence in our lives, because we always hear all the time, it's so bad, it's why we're turning dumber and meaner, and the world is getting terrible. And I like social media. You know, I think there's a good side to it. So I wanted us to just sort of trade some stories today about good ways of using social media, if you guys are cool with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and I agree. There's a lot of negative things about social media, but there's also a lot of positive things. So I think it's nice to also get such a bad rap to highlight on the positive things. And, hopefully, like we intend here at Fit Bottom Girls on all of our social channels to uplift and inspire and make you laugh and feel like you're, heard and understood. So we try to be that positive force. But I know for myself personally, social media, after the Trump election, social media became so powerful for me and positive for me in a different way. There were so many different feelings and so many different things happening, and continue to this day, as the world is kind of insane. But there was just such a sense of community that came out that wasn't just with my girlfriends, that I just felt like I was part of something larger. And the same thing that kind of has happened after the Me Too movement, that is just like, wow, like there is this swell of energy, and particularly, females who are just ready to have things change, and are ready to tell their stories and are ready to speak their truth. And like seeing all that and reading all that, like on such a personal level, made me feel like my feelings that I was having about everything wasn't uncommon, even though it kind of felt like I was going a little nuts. But we were all kind of going a little bit nuts, and have now kind of together realized a little bit more of our power. And in a lot of ways, I think it's made me a more self-aware and vulnerable, writer and communicator, and, person who is like kind of out there online, in a very public way. Made me, in the past, I know, like, especially for Fit Bottom Girls, we haven't been, we wouldn't really ever get into politics or anything now. And now it's not like we're saying like, oh, vote for this person or anything. We're not doing anything that's close to that. But we are very much being like, this is my story. This is my truth. These are the things that we believe in, and we believe in them really strongly, and we're going to say so. And I think social media has just been kind of a big, like, coming together powwow of all of that power. And it really has helped me through a lot of those just difficult times that we're kind of in right now.
Yeah. I found social media about 8 years ago. I want to say 2010, maybe 2011, but I first got on Twitter. And here I was a fitness instructor and a freelancer, and I wanted to start a blog. I wanted to start blogging. That seemed so exotic and cool thing to do. And so one of the first tweets I used to follow was at Fit Bottom Girls, and I just loved your message, and that's how I found the blog and your Instagram and everything else and the Facebook page. And I just thought, like, I love the conversation here. It's so relatable, and you had great ideas for workouts and for music and for everything. So I just started following you guys, and then I became a fitness blogger. I go to a fitness blogging convention, and I meet Jen, and I'm all like gaga, like, it's Jen, oh my god.
So funny. It's so funny, Margot.
And you're like the nicest, most normal person. And then, 6 months later, you came to New York for business and you and I just had coffee and you're like, hey, you want to write for us? And I'm like, yeah. And then my friend Margot, who's also a fitness blogger, we became friends through social media. We're both named Margot and both fitness bloggers. So we said, let's be friends. And we started a podcast together. And then we had fans of our podcast, Book versus Movie, and one of them gifted us with equipment. He says, I love your show, but you need better recording equipment. He goes, please let me give this to you. This is my gift to you. And I, for once, I'm like, and I was like, you know what? Yes. You want to do something nice for me? I'm going to say yes. So I got it. And as soon as I got it, I was like, what can I do with it? I can't just do this one show. And then it popped in my head. What about a Fit Bottom Girls podcast? So I pitched it to the two of you. And now here we are. Like at least once a week we get together and just us, shoot the shit and hang out together. But we've talked to the most amazing people. And it's just turned us into this thing. And I found you on Twitter.
Yep.
Like, isn't that crazy?
We wouldn't have known each other without Twitter.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had something come up in my Facebook memories the other day, and it was a picture of two female I don't remember if it was like Olympic trials or it was extremely like elite track star running type thing. And it was two women, both of whom were, unbelievably fit and, wearing like the sports bras. And one of them, like you could see every ridge of every abdominal muscle. Like there were muscles there that I didn't even know people had. And then the other woman, who obviously was just as fit, you couldn't see any definition. And it was this whole thing of like, keep in mind that like pictures do not tell the whole story. And I may be screwing this up, but the woman of whom the picture was not as flattering, wrote something saying like, yeah, I mean, I drank water, I was breathing, nobody just looks like they've got crazy abs literally at every moment. So, wear what you're comfortable wearing. And one of the things that I've seen with some regularity on social media is encouragement of women to run in or work out in whatever it is that they want. So, like if it's hot out and you want to run in just a sports bra, well, I mean, and bottoms, like don't go.
No one get arrested.
Like keep it legal. But, if what you're wanting to run in is a sports bra and shorts and some sunscreen, then who the hell cares if you've got love handles? Like,
right.
And, I really take that to heart when I see people. If I see someone running, I don't look to see whether I can count their abs. I look at them and I think, good job for being out there. Like that is end of conversation. And yet it is still difficult for me. And this is embarrassing to admit, but it's difficult for me to, I guess, have the balls to do that myself. I will when I'm running somewhere, on my own, and it's really warm out, and I will when I'm on the beach. But like if I'm going to a group run, there's something somewhere in my brain that is like, oh, you're going to show up with all of your friends in a sports bra? You are? Okay. And you guys, it's really difficult for me. And I don't know why this is. Like, I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of this body. I'm proud of what it can do. What the hell?
Yeah, I agree. I haven't done it.
Me neither.
It feels uncomfortable. It is one of those things for like years. I've been like, man, I want to do that and just see what that's like and just kind of like jump in. But I haven't.
You know what? Screw it.
Same
2018 is the year that
I'll take a shirt off.
A sports bra.
Yes.
I just got a really cute new one that I actually got it and I was like, you know what? I want people to see it. It's adorbs. I'm doing it, guys.
Yay!
I'm doing it. I'm gonna post a picture, and you know what? I don't care what the comments say. I don't care if there's anyone who thinks that maybe there should be a shirt on over that, because I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna work hard and be awesome, and I don't give a damn.
Hell yeah.
I love that. I think that's amazing. No, I'm the same way. I don't either. For me, though, it was growing up. I was one of the first girls to develop. So it's a part of my body that like people paid attention to when I didn't want them to. if that makes any sense. So still, I can feel like I talk about it. I feel like I'm 13 years old. It still kind of comes back to me. But damn it, I'm going to do the same thing at some point in 2018.
I will too.
Yes,
all three of us.
Yes,
take our shirts off.
It's
Boom.
The bra tops challenge. Yay! I love it.
Hell yeah.
Join us.
Awesome. So I guess we should just go right into our interview today with Audrey. She's amazing, you guys. You're just going to love her to death. Audrey Dunham. She's adorable. She's your new best friend. Trust me. You guys are going to love her.
Can't wait.
Audrey Dunham is a certified sports nutritionist, plant-based nutritionist, fitness trainer, and a former fitness competitor. But at heart, she also happens to be an indulgent food lover and passionate baker. Additionally, Audrey's a food and lifestyle blogger, a mom to 2 toddler twin boys, plus she is the proud wife to comedian Jeff Dunham. She's here today to talk about her new health series, Plant-Based Slim Living Simplified, which is launching at the Hollywood Improv. Welcome to the show, Audrey.
Hi there. Happy to be here.
Well, we're very happy to have you. This is FBG Margot, and on the line today we have FBG Jen.
Hello.
Hi, Jen and Margot.
Hello.
So, Audrey, I want to start with your blog. How did you come up with it, and how do you keep motivated to create so much fun content?
I was motivated because I just felt like, I've been a nutrition nut for many, many years, certified in plant-based and sports nutrition, certified in fitness training, and I was a fitness competitor for a number of years, did several fitness competitions and worked with clients. And it just seemed like, as time went on, that people were really overcomplicating the subjects of health and what you need to be a healthy person. And so many people think it requires perfection, but really it's all about doing the best you can most of the time. So the slogan on my website is Healthy, Happy Living Simplified. And so that's what I'm trying to do is to give some tips on not only health, but to offer recipes, give some tips on stress and relationships, and then just share a little bit about my life too. There's a My World section on my site where I talk about some stuff going on in my life. And so that was the motivation behind it, just to kind of ease the subject that is so complicated for so many people and give people a new perspective.
Yeah, and your site's really fun.
Thanks.
Can you also talk to us a little bit about your health series? That's the Plant-Based Slim Living Simplified, and it's at the Hollywood Improv. So can you also tell us a little bit about how that came about? I mean, I can kind of maybe imagine why, but I want the story.
Sure. Okay, so starting with the improv, my husband is a comedian, Jeff Dunham, ventriloquist, and I should say he started in the improvs, did 18 years of comedy clubs, and then his management team, who also owns the comedy club chain, offered that as the venue for my new seminar, Plant-Based Slim Living Simplified. It works out really nicely because in the middle of this seminar, we stop for a 15-minute intermission where there are refreshments offered, where I'm going to be taking some of my simplest snack recipes, and the chefs in the back, which is also nice because in the improvs, they also have restaurants attached and full kitchens and whatnot. So those chefs are going to be helping me just whip up some really easy snacks so that people can have a snack during the intermission. So it works out really, really nicely to have that kitchen and the venue all in one. And so then the next seminar after the Hollywood Improv will be in, let's say, Ontario, California, and then we have Oxnard, California, and then we have Irvine. So those are the 4 that we have scheduled thus far. And my goal is to take this around the country and really ease up the subject of plant-based slim living.
So is it more like nutrition focused or cooking focused? Okay.
So the idea behind the seminar is a lot of people are starting the plant-based lifestyle. They're dipping into it. They're curious. It's the hot new diet these days. People are seeing great results online. People are talking about it. In the UK and Australia, it's really huge. I mean, I'm seeing headlines constantly. There was one that came out the other day that said 1/4 of the people in the UK are eating plant-based for dinner now. 1/4. So wow. I thought this is pretty amazing. But the idea that just eating plant-based or vegan will automatically help you lose weight is not necessarily true, because there's a lot of foods out there that won't contribute to fat loss necessarily, won't contribute to health. Some people, if they're eating really gnarly, heavy foods that are still vegan, they aren't necessarily going to help them look their best or feel their best or live the longest. And so I'm trying to break it down. And even for people that are carnivores, omnivores, you have it. I'm basically kind of sharing, okay, I have a history where I loved eating cheese and meat, everything. And I was a fitness competitor eating lots and lots of meat. But now with the research that we have, okay, those foods might help you lose weight or help you achieve a fitness goal or a health goal. There's a lot of ways you can lose fat, by the way. I mean, you can you can lose weight by taking drugs, but it's not necessarily the healthiest way.
Right.
Without getting, I mean, heroin will help you lose weight, but it's not going to help you live a long time.
Right. But probably not a great idea.
Yeah. So I'm breaking it down. My experience. Okay, I loved all these foods growing up. I get it. And so I'm trying to talk to the average everyday person who's eating the American diet with lots of protein, animal protein, cheese, yogurt, chicken, fish, you have it. And kind of just sharing some of the information that a lot of people don't know and why those foods aren't necessarily going to help us live the longest. Some of them might help you achieve a fat loss goal, but there's another way you can do it. You can do it with plant-based eating. And these foods are also going to help you live a longer life because they are the most anti-inflammatory food plant-based foods are. And there's a lot of disease now connected with the animal protein. And so after I learned all of this, I have to spread the word. I have to get out there and just share my journey with people, let them know where I've come from and that I've been on a million diets in my life. I've tried them all. Even as a fitness trainer, even as somebody who coached somebody else. Meanwhile, I was struggling myself a lot of the time, trying to figure out how in the world I was going to get to my goal weight and having my own battles with food. And so it was a journey of my own. And I finally feel like, okay, I've gathered enough information. I've experienced enough. I've worked with enough people that, I can put together a pretty rock solid seminar now and spread the word and maybe make this a little bit easier for other people.
So before I get to my next question, I want you both to know that there is a British dude. His name's Brian May, and he's the guitarist for Queen, and we're named for a Queen song. Oh. He is a vegan and eats a plant-based diet. And if you follow him on Instagram, and it's Brian May for real, he posts pictures of his meals all the time. And,
oh my gosh.
And he's amazing. And he's a scientist, by the way, now. He works at Oxford. So anyway, for you guys out there, just follow his Instagram feed. It's such a delight. But he's also a total plant eater and is always trying to encourage more Brits to do that. So
that's great.
Just planning that to you guys.
Will.
So can we also have him on the show? That would blow. Oh. I think that would collectively.
I think we would all pass out. I think we would all just pass out. I don't know if we could handle it, the coolness. But you know what?
No
challenge accepted. I'm going to try. Okay. So back to the question. So Audrey, where did you develop your love of cooking, and how do you come up with these recipes?
Growing up, my mom was in the kitchen constantly. She worked. I don't know how she did it. She worked a full-time job, and then as a teacher, and then would come home and sit there and think, okay, what am I making for dinner tonight? And then she'd be up and in the kitchen, and it was like she had endless energy. It was amazing. But as a bored kid, I would follow her around and get into the kitchen and start learning the basics. I learned how to make spaghetti, and then we started baking together, and I really grew to love baking quite a bit. And so I learned all the basics from my mom. And then I just realized over time as I grew up that I just really had a fascination for how food was paired, and I wanted to make things on my own and copy recipes that I had in restaurants and put my own spin on them even. And it so developed over time. And then actually when I was doing fitness competitions, you stick to this really strict menu or diet plan that you're supposed to follow. And so this was about 10 years ago when I got into that. And I got so sick of the same old stuff being so plain, the chicken and the vegetables and the rice. And I realized, wait a minute, spices don't have calories. I can add those. And then I got into vinegars too, because vinegars can add a lot of flavor. And so I started thinking I can make my fitness competition food taste better and more enjoyable. And so I really started to get creative in that way. And then after I decided to retire from fitness competitions, after Jeff and I got married, I started creating recipes of my own. I used to tour around with him for 7 years. I was on the road with him. And we had this tiny little kitchen on the tour bus. So my challenge was then to come up with delicious recipes that I could make in a tiny little kitchen. And so it was one little quest after another and trying to constantly improve my skills and to learn more. Then I discovered the Food Network and the Cooking Channel and started to learn a lot from there. Then I found out that the Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park, New York has boot camps and cooking classes. And so I spent a week there and learned a ton in a short amount of time, and then just started to kind of teach myself. But then we have kids. We have twins in October of 2015. So then I started realizing I don't have time to come up with elaborate recipes anymore. I need things that are simple and easy. And so then the goal was to create stuff that tasted really good, required few amounts of ingredients, short lists, and were quick. And then I realized, you know what, I'm not the only one. There are a lot of people out there, whether you have kids or not, that want recipes like this. And so I was actually really motivated just by that idea.
Yeah, I will say the meals that I cooked before I had my daughter and the meals that I cook now, like the requirements for what I'm looking for are very different. We still weekends we'll like try to do something like more elaborate because my husband and I like to cook. But yeah, on the weeknights it's like exactly what you said. So right. With that in mind, what are like a few of your like go-to family meals right now?
My favorite, well, first of all, on the weekends, like most people, you just go and you do all your grocery shopping, bring home all your produce. And then what I do is I don't allow myself to put it into the fridge until it is washed and prepped. And sometimes it might sit on the counter for several hours until I can get to it. You know, maybe I have to wait until the boys take a nap or till they go to bed. But when you do that, you're less likely to let those vegetables just kind of rot away in your fridge and be forgotten. I mean, I know that we probably all experience that. We go to the grocery store, we get all motivated, we buy all kinds of vegetables, we bring them home, and then they just get tucked away and we forget about them, and then the next thing you know, they're spoiled. So by prepping them, getting them all ready, and then putting them in a storage container so they're front and center and ready to go, is what I try and do. If I have extra time, what I'll do is I'll just lay out a bunch of chopped vegetables on baking sheets, cover them in a light layer of oil, put them in the oven. And when you have 4 or 5 different types of vegetables all ready to go, you can get really creative throughout the week. And so for lunchtime, what we do is we do a lot of like grain and bean bowls with lots of vegetables. So we'll have some roasted carrots and asparagus and cauliflower and butternut squash. And we'll throw in some quinoa, which is nice and easy in 15 minutes to make. Open up a can of beans, put those in there, top with avocado, and then drizzle with like a balsamic glaze for some extra flavor, and you're set. So that's typical. That's our typical lunch. So all the prep is so easy. Just throw the vegetables in the oven, put on a pot of quinoa. That takes 15 minutes, and then open the can of beans, and that's the busy mom's lunch right there.
Tasty too.
But I also love doing. I'll get sick of that, so I'll do some stir fries. And what's nice is that you can just take a large frying pan, cover it in one single layer of vegetables, turn on the fire on medium, and then just let them sit for like 5 minutes without touching them so that they get some nice color. And then you flip them as easily as you can, just try and turn them over, get the other side going. And then you add in some soy sauce, some orange marmalade, a little bit of ginger, maybe some powdered garlic. So powdered ginger, because a lot of us don't have time to chop fresh ginger. If you do, that's great. But otherwise, the powdered stuff is just fine. So you have your soy sauce, the orange marmalade, powdered ginger, powdered garlic, put it on top of the vegetables, create kind of a sauce with a little extra water if you need to. And then you have the most amazing Asian stir fry. So just put that on top of some rice, add in some beans if you want a little extra bulk and some extra protein and fiber. And that's a nice, easy go-to recipe. I have it on my website.
Yum. I don't know why. I've never thought to put orange marmalade in with like my stir fry. Like that seems like it would give it such like a nice like citrus punch, and it's not like you're peeling an orange and then putting it in there. It's just something you just have in your fridge. Duh, I just had like a cooking aha moment. Thank you.
I wish I could take credit for that. It is totally my grandma. She was the one that taught me that trick. And she keeps it very simple. She'll take the jar, scoop it out into the pan, and then take the soy sauce. And then she just does those 2 ingredients. And that's a lot of flavor in its own. But marmalade has some sugar already added to it, so it adds a nice sweetness and the tang.
Yum.
Yeah.
So you just mentioned you are the mom to 2 wonderful twin boys. Congratulations.
Right.
How old are they now?
They are 2 1/4. So they are... Goodness. I mean, they are adorable, but they're also little rascals. I mean, we compare them to the raptors
the velociraptors
in Jurassic Park, because they are so clever and they work as a team. So, I mean, just about Yeah, just about 2 weeks ago, any parent who's had toddlers or raised kids in general, they know the day that their kid learns to crawl out of their crib is a game changer. You're like, all right, my life is over. I can no longer keep them in the cage. And you know what I mean? So you never know when they're going to climb out. So they both recently learned to do that. So we quickly had, just for safety, we had to get them into toddler beds. And so they're now adjusting to the freedom and of being able to get in and out of bed as they like. And it's interesting because we have one that likes to nap, one that doesn't.
Oh boy.
And we have one that loves to sleep at night and the other one that doesn't. So it's an interesting contrast. But man, they're so much fun. They're so cute.
But hopefully they'll help each other out. Like hopefully eventually like one will teach the other one, like, no, go back to bed. Like go to sleep. Yeah. It's time to sleep, you know?
That's what
you
I
need
think.
to train
like,
the sleeper.
Right. I know, like you're keeping me up. Can you please just lay down or something? Take a book with you. But you know, and they're so fun. They're so different in every way. We have one, I mean, they look really different. They're fraternal twins. One's a redhead with like the really pale skin and bright blue eyes, and then and he looks just like Jeff. And then the other one, it's kind of my little doppelganger. He's got brown hair and blue eyes as well, but a darker blue and more like olivey type skin compared to his bro. And so just looking at them, if we didn't dress them exactly the same, most of the time people would have no idea they were twins.
So, but what happened to your workout routine when you were pregnant with them? You know, we were pregnant with twins. That must have been quite a change.
Oh yeah.
You know, your body was going through.
For sure. And you know, and I was super paranoid that I was going to miscarry and lose them. And so in the beginning, I really took it easy. I was just so overly paranoid. And so really just took it easy. After we got kind of into a safe zone, after 3 months along, I would start doing some easy stuff. Really relied on things like just walking and maybe some simple squats. And that was about it. Just carrying them around felt like a workout. At the end, it was so tiring that I actually remember sitting at the breakfast table one morning thinking, man, I could really use some almond milk for some of my oatmeal, but that means I need to stand up. Okay, I'm not going to have any almond milk because it was just too much work to get up. I mean, there was so much stress on the body towards the end, but just in general, while we're on the subject of exercise, I really feel like people overthink it in general. They put so much pressure on themselves to get to the gym and have a really hardcore workout when really you can have a really fantastic workout at home in just 10 minutes, 20 minutes. As long as you're constantly moving and you get that heart rate up in whatever way, that's good enough. And getting out and walking does wonders for you. And so that, you know, in my seminar, that's going to be the shortest section is exercise. Granted, there's tons of benefits with weightlifting. I mean, it's great for bone health to build bone density, and it's great for balance. And so, you know, the last thing we all want to do as we get older is to have a fall. So, you know, if you look at it as an investment in yourself, you're keeping yourself out of the hospital because you're not going to fall and break your hip because you've been lifting weights, then great. But if you don't see yourself doing that, just find some other way that you enjoy working out, and that think of it as your time. That's time for you to kind of release some stress, to get your blood flowing. And, you know, that blood flow really helps with preventing disease. Just think of it in a different way. And I think that people would be exercising a lot more if they just kind of changed the way they thought about it. It doesn't need to be long. It doesn't need to be an hour. It doesn't need to be an hour every day. It just needs to be like 20 minutes most days. So there you go.
Sorry, I was unmuted and taking notes. I was like, I'm going to have a next question, I swear. I was like, but I'll lose this quote. So you talked about your workout routine when you were pregnant. What about now? What's it like now, and how is it kind of continuing to evolve now that you do have those adorable little twin boys?
Yeah. Well, it really changed for me. My days of having the luxury of long workouts are gone for now. So I made the decision after the boys were born, okay, I'm going to make sure I get in my workout because I like working out. It makes me feel good, and I like feeling strong. And I felt like I needed to be strong in order to keep lifting 2 children constantly. And so I was really motivated to get back in the gym and make sure that I was getting in those workouts. But the luxury of having the longer workouts were gone. So I thought, okay, if I can just take 20 minutes and make sure that every minute is used really well, then I'm just going to see how that works. So it worked amazingly, actually. I got all of my baby weight off. I got below my pre-pregnancy weight simply by doing, well, the plant-based diet for one thing. But as far as workouts, I was never in the gym longer than 20 to 40 minutes. And it was basically just doing I have a piece of cardio equipment at my house. And so I do the high intensity interval training where you do some intervals. And if I had time for some weights, I would do circuit training where if you do an upper body exercise and then immediately move to like a lower body exercise like squats, then that upper body is resting while you're working the lower body. And so you can go back and forth between the two exercises without stopping. So, and then you can throw in some core exercise, some abs, crunches, whatever, in the middle if you want to give yourself more of a break on the upper body and then start all over again. So you can be in and out of the gym in 20 to 30 minutes, 40. But like I said, most of the time it was a 20-minute workout for me. You have to kind of put your phone away and say, okay, no distractions. I just need to get this done in and out and make every minute count.
Yeah. I was the same way. Like I would be like, okay, I don't have very long, but I went from like working out with kind of like la 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 la, I can kind of do whatever I want, over time to being like 20 minutes, go, like super crazy focused,
right? Yeah. And things change. It's interesting. I mean, and it's not just for people who have kids, but people who have like a high demanding job, or even if they have pets they want to get home to so they can walk them or whatever it is. Like we're all, I mean, especially in America, we're really busy, and we usually pack our schedule to the max. And so we unfortunately put ourselves and our own health on the back burner. Yeah. And we really should be making it first, because all those people we're trying to take care of, our family, our dogs, we can't take care of them if we're sick, or if if we're in the hospital or what have you. So taking care of our health, our own health, should be the number one top priority. Yeah. I know it's really hard for people, especially women. We're all such givers, and we want to take care of everybody and our significant others and our family, and we can do our best, but I think it really pays off to put yourself first and foremost, and then that way it kind of trickles off, and then and ends up taking care of your family in the long run.
I would like to go back to, actually, you were mentioning before about being a fitness competitor. And we've had a few of them on our show, and they all describe how grueling and monotonous it is, the training can be. Oh, yeah. And how restrictive and unhealthy the dieting can be. Can you please talk about your experience in that world?
Oh, absolutely. And in retrospect, I worked with a coach, and he was a really well-known, famous coach that took on, hundreds of clients. And he always kept our conversations on the phone very short and very brief when we check in every 2 weeks. And he'd up my cardio. I was up to a crazy amount, an hour and 45, sometimes 2 hours towards the end when you're getting ready to be on stage, and then your calories are so low. And then after I got married to Jeff, he found out that I was married to a comedian, and so he asked if he could come to the show, and so he came backstage after Jeff's show, and we just started talking about the industry, the fitness competitions, and he kind of led on. He's like, girls, they get in this great shape and they're ripped, but then afterwards they just have a really hard time getting back to normal life and to normal eating again. So they gain all their weight back, but it kind of works out well for me because then I get more business and they come back to me, and I'm just thinking, dude, I'm one of those people.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just really an eye-opener. I'm like, man, okay. So what happens is that when you get your calories so low, and this is not only for fitness competitions, but for anybody who goes on an extreme diet or they decide to get their calories really low, what happens is that our body is constantly, the body's number one job is to adapt. It's trying to survive. And so if you bring your calories really, really low, that becomes your basal metabolic rate. So that is what your body is now saying, okay, these are the calories we're going to get each day. We're going to learn to survive on this amount. And meanwhile, yes, you are losing some weight. After a while, it will plateau and get used to it, though, because that's what the body does. If you are done suddenly with the fitness competition, or you reach your goal or your wedding day or whatever it is that you've been dieting for, and then you try and go back to a normal life afterwards, it's extremely difficult, and you usually gain that weight back really quickly because your basal metabolic rate is so low. So if you're taking in 1,200 calories and then you suddenly go up to 2,000, your body goes into shock, and so you're suddenly taking in all this water weight, and all these calories are just getting stored because your body's like, wow, we finally have some excess. And so, what if we go into starvation again? We need to be ready. So it's going to store all of it. And these competitors, these people, anybody who goes on an extreme diet, they don't know what's going on, and they get extremely frustrated because they work so hard to get to that point. So even these fitness competitors who seem like they're like the epitome of fitness, that they must know everything because they're able to get to this point. The truth of the matter is, half the time they're just doing what their coaches tell them to do, or they're following a plan that they found online or something. And they have a really hard time staying in shape. And so that's what I did for years. I mean, after I would finish a fitness competition, I was dreaming of Reese's peanut butter cups and bread and you name it. So I had this list of food that I wanted to go and tackle as soon as I got off stage. But then you have this list in your head. Okay, I have this list of good foods that I'm supposed to eat that will help with weight loss. And then everything else is in the bad category. And anytime that you eat a food on that bad category, which really isn't bad. I mean, we're talking like maybe who knows, like a little extra oatmeal, or if you're having more almond butter, or or excess of something, or if you just feel like you're eating too much, you feel this guilt and you don't know how to handle it. You don't know how to adjust back to normal life. So that's the biggest challenge that I see fitness competitors go through. And it's just, it breaks my heart because they need a coach that actually tells them how to adjust back to eating a little bit more after that competition is over, and how to ease back in and allow the body to adjust to a little bit more calories afterwards.
So how did you transition that? How did you change this? And this is kind of a common theme I've heard from, I think we've heard on the podcast from a number of people, was like, you go from basically, crash dieting, like yo-yo dieting for very physical means, because it's a fitness competition. And then how do you transition so that then your intention does begin to be more about health and feeling good? How did you get through that process?
Well, I finally got so sick of it. After I walked off stage for my last competition in 2011, I just thought, this is it. It's not fun for me anymore, because it became a really popular sport. They added this bikini division. And so a lot more people started entering fitness competitions, and it was so crowded backstage, and I just felt like we were all cattle. It just wasn't fun anymore. And then plus the process of it was just too much. And I was with Jeff, and when you're training for a fitness competition, you really are so self-centered. It has to be you're eating different food than everybody else in your life, and you have to get in these workouts, so you can't spend as much time with your family. And if you're working and you're trying to get in a 3-hour workout, then you don't leave much time for anybody else. And so I just got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm done. But then Jeff and I get engaged. And I'm like, well, shoot, I want to get in great shape for our wedding. So here we go again. The only plan that I know is a for sure thing is a fitness competition style plan. So here we go again. And so I look at that as like my 8th fitness competition. It was the final one. But thankfully Jeff was on board. He's like, I want to do it too. I want to get in great shape too. So we did it together. So that was fun. But then after that, I thought, okay, I need to heal my relationship with food, because I'm having a hard time here, not feeling super guilty after I eat something that's not on the plan. And actually, you know what? Here's a good example. Toast with like a little bit of jam or something was never on a fitness competition plan. And so I felt extremely guilty eating something like that. Even if it's not necessarily an unhealthy food, I just didn't know how to eat for normal life. So I really started to do some soul searching, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to figure this out. I don't care if it takes me years. I'm going to figure out how there's other people on this world who are naturally slim and maintain their weight year round, and they're not going on yo-yo diets, and they seem like they're enjoying some really great food, but they're not eating a whole bunch. So what's going on here? How are these naturally thin people in my life doing this? So I started reading lots of books on intuitive eating, which is a great subject to look into.
Yeah.
And it makes you more present when you're eating, and to get rid of that anxiety that can come with food and with eating. And so there's been a ton of books written on that subject, which are great. I started to get into Janine Roth books where she just kind of connects with, those are written forever ago, but they really help you connect and realize, okay, I'm not the only one. There are a lot of people going through all the same feelings that I am in one form or another. It doesn't matter if I'm a fitness competitor. It doesn't matter who you are. A lot of us are feeling the same feelings having to do with food and our bodies and just having peace.
Reading Janine Roth changed my life.
Oh yeah, she's so cool.
like in Food and God or something, and
yes.
Oh, I mean, it was like almost like a smack across the face. It was so good.
Yes, I think that there was one that the title was so awesome. It was something like, if you're going to eat in front of the fridge, pull up a chair. I think that was the title of the book. I'm like, I have to read this.
Yep.
And it, I think a lot of us, no matter what you've been through in your life or what you're going through now, what we often think is that you're the only one and that you're isolated and you feel lonely. But, oh man, there's so many people on this earth that are just going through and feeling the exact same things. No matter what you've been through, there's somebody else out there who's already been through it.
Yep.
And so, I mean, I think the number one thing above food that we crave as people is human connection. We want to feel loved and be loved in some form. And so thank goodness we have podcasts. Thank goodness we have the internet. We have Facebook. We have social media. And so we're able to connect in so many ways now. Of course, there's the negative side that comes with social media. But for the most part, I think it's really fantastic because we're able to connect. So for some people out there who haven't found like their partner in life yet and they're single and they might feel lonely, they can still feel that connection in a different form through, social media and listening to podcasts and realizing, okay, all right, I'm feeling connected to these people because I'm realizing that I'm not the only one that's feeling whatever it is I'm feeling right now.
Your husband just happens to be one of the most successful comedians in the business.
Right.
Is there a side to his personality that is different than what we see on stage or what his audience sees that you can let us know about?
Sure. I mean, okay. So first and foremost, he is the guy that you see on stage most of the time. He is so funny constantly. And if he sees somebody having a bad day, whether they're in a convenience store working behind the counter or it's a family member, it all of a sudden becomes a challenge for him to try and make that person laugh. And so this has happened in some really awkward situations where we've had family members in hospitals, funerals.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I see somebody crying, I have a challenge. And so I have somebody who's frowning, I now have a challenge. And so sometimes it's a waitress in a restaurant. He's like, all right, I'm going to make this person laugh. And so he's exactly the person that you would hope and think he would be. However, he is an incredible businessman and extremely driven. And we have an age difference. He's older than me, but you would never know because the guy has so much energy. He runs circles around me. I mean, he's very spontaneous. We can't do all the spontaneous things we used to now that we have kids. We can't just like pack up and go somewhere for a weekend like we used to. But it's a kid inside of an adult's body. And the other side of him is that he's extremely so he's managed to balance that. He's the businessman, but he's also the kid. So he's able, I think, to use that as a benefit to where he is taking that childlike side of him and presenting it to the public. And he's using that side of him to further his career. And he does these YouTube videos. One of the YouTube videos was the kids from the toys from our childhood that could kill us or something like that. The things that used to be allowed that are no longer allowed, like these darts and like these realistic looking guns and things like that were, just play guns, but they look like real guns. And so he did a whole video on that. And so he's extremely focused and driven in the business aspect, but he's also a kid. So there's that side of him. On the other side that I love so much, and my favorite side is his extremely sentimental. So he has things he has 3 grown daughters who are lovely young women from a previous marriage. And he still has little things like clippings of hair from their first haircuts and all of these things. And he can't throw them away. He can't part with them because he'll even start crying when he starts thinking about when his daughters were little. Oh. And so he's extremely sentimental as well. And way more than I am. I'm a sentimental person to a degree, but I also, I feel like I need to pick and choose what I hold on to and keep as far as keepsakes. But he's like, nope, let's just keep it all.
Mm-hmm. So with both of you being, ambitious, like very ambitious, successful, having twins, how do you make sure that you're still getting time for the two of you and you're kind of keeping your relationship healthy?
This is by far the most important thing, is to put things on the calendar for just the two of you. So we have regular date nights. I'm very, very thankful. I have my parents that live just 10 minutes down the road. And these are actually their only grandkids. My 2 brothers just so happen to have zero interest in having kids. So these two are my parents' focus, and so I'm very, very lucky that way. But we also have a part-time nanny that comes in and fills in here and there. It's very important to kind of surround yourself with a team of people when you have a lot going on that are really fantastic, amazing people that can support. But for anybody out there who doesn't have the team, if either way, you have to find that time just for the two of you.
Yeah. One
way or another, whether it's your friends that watch your kids or just somebody else that you really trust, even if it's 2 hours so you can go out to dinner, that time is so important, just to sit across from one another, put your phones down, and just have a real conversation and just talk about life and what's going on. Yeah. But the other thing that we do is that we both are morning people. So we get up early, way before the boys, have our coffee, and we kind of catch up every morning as well. And those are the two times that we try and do a date night twice a month. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But regardless, when he's in town and he's not traveling, we're having coffee together in the morning.
That is so sweet and so simple.
Thanks.
It's just like it's just like a cup of coffee in the morning could make a big difference.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Taking just a couple of minutes where you're not stressed out, where you're not already overloading yourself with the day. If you're just taking a few minutes just to kind of maybe look out the windows, see what the sunrise is looking like, and kind of talk about what we have going on. And, back in the day before we had kids, he and I were attached to the hip. We did everything together. I toured with him. I was his trainer on the road. And I was there for every business call. I was there for every major decision that ever happened. Any kind of plans that were made, I was right there. So it was a big shock when our boys were born. For me to suddenly have to stay home and not be part of it anymore. It was really hard.
Yeah.
And I was really thankful that we had those years together where it was just the two of us. And I mean, so many couples don't have that, where they're able to spend so much time together and really connect right off the start. And every relationship is a little different, but we now have that foundation, and we can go back to that when things get stressful and our kids are making us want to kill ourselves. There's screaming going on. We can still, he does a really good job of just kind of like stop and look at me in the face and just be like, we just have to laugh right now. And I'm like, you're right. And we also have to drink some wine. So get a bottle of wine. We'll laugh and we'll drink some wine.
That's been a tactic in my household a few times, I have to say.
I have to say, I'm a total lightweight. I'll totally admit it. But the amazing benefits of drinking a half a glass of wine for stress, for red wine, it has to be red wine, but it can be really a life changer. And are you guys familiar with the blue zones? The blue zones, the areas in the world where people are living the longest. There's 5 of them.
Oh.
There's a book written on it.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh. It's amazing. So there's this guy named Dan Buettner who's been doing like 20 years of research on the areas in the world where people are living the longest, and going out and finding these people. There's an area in Greece. There's Okinawa, Japan. They're all over. And then we have like Loma Linda, California, which was totally random. But what they've found is that all these people have these kind of things. They have all these things in common. So they have some sort of religion, doesn't matter what kind, some kind of religion. They have a great family basis. They eat mostly plant-based, and they drink red wine. and so there's more centenarians in these 5 places on the earth than any other. And 4 of those areas drink a lot of red wine. And so I'm not saying that we need to be drinking a lot, because ultimately, it doesn't always agree with everybody, and it can make you lethargic the next day. It can make you crave more foods the next day. But if there's that tiny little bit that kind of takes the edge off when you're having a stressful day, I say go for it.
It's also just really nice to cook with a little, like, glass of red wine.
I know.
In my experience.
That's my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, it's like a very luxurious, like, I'm making a delicious meal, and here's my glass of wine, and I'm so put together and fancy right now. Yeah.
I know. They just go together. I'm with you.
So, Jen, do you have any more questions for Audrey?
Why don't I ask one more question?
Go for it.
And
okay.
then
I'll ask my last question.
And then you can do last question, Margot.
Okay.
I would like to know, and we'll just kind of circle back around to the beginning when you were talking about, the importance of and the research on plant-based foods and how healthy they are and what all the research is showing. If someone was like a heavy meat eater, or a lot of like kind of processed foods, what would be just a couple of tips to help them transition to more of a plant-based lifestyle?
this is a great question, because I think that this is a lot in the American diet. We really focus on protein, when really what we should be focusing on is fiber. We're getting twice as much protein as we need and only half the amount of fiber. And fiber actually, I mean, if you continue eating meat but you just add more vegetables to your diet, then you're making a huge improvement for your health. So the fiber that comes from vegetables and grains and beans is disease fighting, and it's highly underestimated. And we should have doctors shouting this from the rooftops that these foods help fight off disease. But for somebody who's really loving meat and has a hard time even wrapping their minds around the idea of giving it up, the first thing I would do is to think of it more as like a side dish. So you don't necessarily need to give it up right away. Just get used to eating less. So maybe you save it for one meal of the day instead of 2 or 3. So you save it for dinner. And then when you go out to restaurants, immediately start looking at what vegetables are on the menu. So you can look at the side dishes. In fact, what's funny is that steakhouses are some of the best places to eat plant-based.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have all of those vegetable side dishes. It's amazing. Yeah. And I think that if you don't try and do too much too soon, you don't try and drive yourself crazy in the beginning. You don't talk to the restaurant server and say, okay, I need something without butter and without cheese. And, if you just focus on the vegetables first and foremost, trying to get as many of those in your life as possible. And then you think, okay, I've got a great salad on the way at this restaurant. They're going to put together an awesome vegetable plate for me with all these sides put together on one plate for me. Great. But you still want a little bit of meat, then you can actually order a chicken breast or a piece of fish as like a side. And then it's not your main focus. It's not like the big elaborate presentation at the table. And when you have when you have your plate of your vegetable plate come out, by far you will have the attention of the entire table that you're with. It'll be the most colorful thing on the planet, and with so many textures, and people are usually very envious. They're like, oh my gosh, I wish I was having what you're having. You have a big baked potato, you have some asparagus, you have some ratatouille, and it's just everything looks amazing. You have glazed carrots. And then it's so filling. What's great about those plant foods is that they have the fiber, they have the water content, so they're extremely filling. They take up a lot of space in your stomach, so you automatically are taking in less calories simply because there's no more space in your stomach for any more food once you load up on all these plant-based foods that are naturally low in calories. But I think the other thing too is to find some substitutes. So you really love burgers. Guess what? There's a lot of people out there that know that plant-based is a trend, or there's vegan or plant-based bloggers out there, or there's people who are creating products that know that this is becoming a big interest, and they're doing all the guesswork for you. You can find some incredible veggie burgers in restaurants now, some that are, really over the top, amazingly delicious. You can find some in the frozen section. There's recipes online to make your own. And since it's such a hot thing now, it's really accessible more than ever. It's a great time for anybody who wants to give plant-based a shot. And so those are the two top pieces of advice I give to anybody who's a meat lover but wants to give it a shot. The other great thing I have to mention is jackfruit. Jackfruit, have you guys tried it yet?
Yeah, it's delicious.
It's
I've had it in barbecue restaurants.
Yeah, it's like, it looks like pulled pork. It has, the texture's not exactly like pulled pork, but it looks like it and it resembles it. And so as soon as you put that barbecue sauce on it, put it in between a couple pieces of bread, and you feel like you have like this pulled pork sandwich. But it's made with jackfruit, which is like 40 calories in a cup, and it's plants, so that means it has antioxidants and minerals and fiber and all the great things that all plant-based foods have. And it's way better for your health and way lower in calories, but still super filling. So that's a great one. Even Trader Joe's has cans of jackfruit now, and you just drain it off and add your own sauce to it, and you're good to go.
So I guess I'm going to ask you the last question if you're ready.
Sure, yeah. And also I want to mention, if there's anything that you'd like me to rephrase or answer a little differently, I know I had a big cup of coffee this morning, so
no, believe
if I
me.
Went off on a tangent.
You're great.
You are great.
You're great.
Trust me.
Yeah. Okay.
The audience right now is saying, what is she talking about? No. She's awesome. Keep talking, Audrey. So I just have one more question for you. What was the last song you listened to before you did this podcast interview?
Oh, okay. I'll be totally honest with you. It was some sort of Winnie the Pooh. The kids rule the house at this point, even when we're in the car. And but I love all types of music. I love Pitbull. I love Maroon 5. I love country. Anything that's kind of happy and upbeat is my kind of thing.
I'm not surprised to hear that.
I have tried to, we haven't played any kids music in the car yet because I know that as soon as I do, that's the only thing we're going to listen to for like the end of eternity.
Oh, so, yeah, you're smart.
Yes, I'm like, no, I'm like, wait, because my husband suggested that the other day when my daughter was upset in the back seat, and I was like, no, we can't play Moana. We'll listen to Moana for the rest of our lives. Like, no.
Oh my gosh. Well, how old is your daughter?
She's about 3. She's almost 3.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. I mean, from what I hear, girls tend to be, I hate to say this because it really just depends on the personality, but I have 4 best friends that all had kids around the same ages. I had 4. Let me rephrase that. I have about 4 best friends who all had kids around the same time as me, which is really funny because we're all in our 30s and 40s. Like none of us are spring chickens here. And we all just happen to have babies around the same time. So we're all kind of comparing notes. And the ones that have girls just seem to have a little easier time with the 2-year-old age. They're just a little bit more content. They relax a little bit more. When they're in their high chairs, they eat slowly and peacefully. With the boys in the group, however, including my they're eat and I'm like, all right, I'm out of here. I'm good. Let's move on to the next thing. And so sitting in a car is sometimes a challenge at this age because they want to get on to the next thing. They want to be like, entertain me somehow, guys. All right, ready, go. And when you're stuck at a stoplight, you can't really do that. And so, we ended up giving into the music. Yeah. And they won in that regard. But, with the 2-year-olds, it's all about distractions and finding entertainment and keeping them happy.
You have to do what you can to survive.
Totally. You got 2 of them. You're outnumbered.
Yeah, it's all about survival.
Exactly.
Exactly. But anyway, so that's our situation, and that was probably the last song that I heard. They're really into Winnie the Pooh right now, which I think is so cute because Jeff was really into Winnie the Pooh when he was a little boy, and so it's kind of like all come full circle.
And he's very sentimental.
Oh yeah, he actually has the Winnie the Pooh doll from his childhood, and the Kanga and the Roo. And I know they mean a lot to him because his daughter Ashton was really attached to those 2 stuffed animals when she was a little girl. And so now they're in the room with the boys. I'm like, wow. Are you sure about that? I'm pretty sure that Kanga's not going to have a nose. If you leave it in there, it'll probably get chewed off. But he's like, no, they're stuffed animals. They should be in there with him. But yeah, of course he still has those. There's no way he's getting rid of those. But I think he gets it from his mom. Honestly, she's still extremely sentimental, and I think that she passed that on to him, which is very, very sweet. He's a good guy.
So cute.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for being on the show. You're a fantastic guest. It's so much fun talking to you. I feel like we just sat around and had coffee together or something. It was so delightful.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure. And as I said, I really enjoy listening to your podcast. You guys are, as anybody else who listens to you can agree, you're so down to earth and cool. And I wish that you weren't on the East Coast so we could hang out.
I'm in the middle of the country. You guys can just come to me. I'm in Kansas City. I'm in Kansas City, Missouri. Yeah. And then our other.
Each other then.
What?
How did you two meet each other?
Oh, Margot and I, we originally met at a
Fit Blogging.
A fitness blogger convention thing.
Oh.
And we hit it off, and then because Margot has a blog, and then I was like, well, I kind of need someone to like cover stuff in New York. You want to do that for us? She was like, sure. Well, she wasn't like sure. She was like, sure.
I was so excited when I met her. I had a blog crush on Fit Bottom Girls. I just love the blog so much. So when I met Jen, I was super excited. And then she asked me to be the New York correspondent. I did that for a few years. And then a couple of years ago, I guess a year and a half ago, maybe, I don't even remember, but I said, do you want to do a podcast? Would you guys be into that? And she's like, yeah, okay. You want to do it? Let's do it. And it just sort of took off.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And that's social media, by the way. You met through social media. And that's and we formed a connection. So, yeah.
Oh, nice. That's really cool to hear. I mean, it's such a small world, really, when you get down to it. And, like I said before, thank goodness to social media and podcasts, it makes the world even smaller.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
That's cool. Well, I'm glad you guys found each other because you've created a really great thing here. And I'm proud to be part of it for this small amount of time.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Likewise.
Love this show? Tell us why in a 5-star review on iTunes, and we'll read it on the air. Also, make sure you are a subscriber. If you want to reach out to say hi or have a question about a recent episode, yay, well, feel free to email us at podcast@fitbottomgirls.com. And if this podcast jives perfectly with your brand, consider sponsoring the show. Get more info by emailing advertising@fitbottomgirls.com. Find all kinds of Fit Bottom goodness online and on social media at Fit Bottom Girls, Fit Bottom Mamas, Fit Bottom Eats, and Fit Bottom Zen. And if books and movies are your thing, check out the other podcast I co-host called Book versus Movie, which you can find anywhere where you search for podcasts. Thanks for listening.